Okay, I want to call to order the regularly scheduled meeting of Murphysboro Community 186. And Mrs. Hines, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Bain?
Here.
Mr. Beavers?
Here.
Mrs. Brazel?
Here.
Mr. Green?
Here.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mrs. Evaldi? Here. Mr. Runge?
Here, next item is the Pledge of Allegiance. Miss Reese, would you be so kind as to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Yes, you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Next item is the approval of the agenda. Dr. Evers, I believe there is one item change.
We're tabling one thing, right?
Oh, we're tabling.
We're tabling
the presentation of the
2021-2022 audit.
Right. We don't have it yet. I haven't
All right.
seen anything.
I almost said
else.
AFR. I was like, that's, yeah.
So item number 1 under new business will be tabled.
Correct.
That's the only change.
That is accurate.
I will entertain a motion to approve the amended agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5 is the approval of the consent agenda, which consists of District 186 regular board meeting minutes dated 8/16/2022, District 186 special board meeting minutes dated 8/29/2022, Tri-County minutes dated 8/10/2022, Tri-County bills for September of 2022, applications and reports, and I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 6 is the approval of the District 186 bills for September of 2022. Are there any questions from the board for Mrs. Bush? I do have one.
Yes.
On the very first page, at Carruthers, Halo vape sensors. Do we have an issue at Carruthers with vaping?
We have
Mr.
a
Todd?
agreement. Yeah, we.
So we have had students bring in vape pens and use them in the restroom. So yeah, that is a thing. So it's not, doesn't happen frequently, but it is something that we want to keep an eye on and be aware of.
Well, I agree with that, but man, that's young.
Yep.
Okay, that was all my questions.
Okay.
Anyone else? I'll entertain a motion to approve the District 186 bills as presented. Mrs. Hines?
Mr. Beavers?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mrs. Brazel?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mrs. Evaldi?
Yes.
Mr. Bain?
Yes.
Mr. Runge?
Yes, motion carries. Item number 7 is communications, and we have a few.
So the first one's a thank you from Dr. Evers. Murphysboro CUSD 186 Board of Education. Thank you for the beautiful floral arrangement that you sent for my mother's funeral. But thank you most of all for your kindness, support, and prayers throughout her illness and transition. Warm regards, Andrea Evers.
So thank you. And I'm working on thank you cards for everyone else. So I can tell you that I have never felt more loved than by this school district. So thank you. Every time I listen to the breeze, I'll think of my mom because of chimes and the benches and the cards and the flowers and just kind words. So my email and my mailbox has been full for the last couple of weeks, so I appreciate it. Thank you all.
Okay, the next one is from Deanne Melton. Dear Dr. Evers and school board members, I am writing to inform you of my intent to take board-approved maternity leave after I deliver my child. My expected date of delivery is February the 1st, 2023, and it is my plan to work up until I deliver. My anticipated return date is May 1st using my accumulated sick days. I have already been in contact with Ms. Finke and will continue to be in contact with her throughout the remainder of my pregnancy to discuss the exact dates of my leave. I will work to prepare for my future substitute in hopes to make the transition smooth for my students and their parents. Please contact me with any questions and concerns. Sincerely, Deanne Melton.
I'll entertain a motion to approve that maternity leave. Moved. Second.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, the next one is from Derek Aiken. To whom it may concern, my last official day working for Murphysboro CUSD 186 will be December the 9th, 2022. It was an honor and a pleasure to be a part of this team. Godspeed. Sincerely, Derek Aiken.
I'll entertain a motion to approve that resignation. Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The next one is from Erica Denton, Murphysboro CUSD Board of Education. I'm writing this letter to inform you of my approaching due date for baby Denton. My due date is October 27th. I intend to work until October 24th or my delivery date, whichever comes first. I am requesting board approval to take my maternity leave from October the 24th until January the 8th. I am currently working to get my classroom ready for my future substitute. I will be more than happy to assist as much as I can remotely from home. I will be in weekly contact with my substitute in hopes to make the transition smooth for my students. Please contact me with any questions or concerns. Thank you in advance for allowing me to take this time away so that I can spend time with my family and care for my new baby. Kindest regards, Erica Denton.
I'll entertain a motion to approve that maternity leave.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The next one is from Morgan Hall. Dr. Evers, I'm writing to let you know that I am pregnant and plan to take 5 weeks of maternity leave.
That's in the water. Something's in the water.
My due date is February 14th, 2023, and I anticipate starting my leave on February 13th, 2023, and returning on March 20th, 2023, barring any unforeseen circumstances. I will do my best to complete all of my work that's currently in progress prior to my leave. Although I suggest Ms. Lee takes responsibility for my high priority work while I'm out of the office, I am happy to work with you to come up with a plan for allocating my workload. While I'm away and on leave, you can contact me, let me know if you need a doctor's note or any other information from me. I'll let you know if anything changes. Thank you for allowing me to take this time with my newborn. With gratitude, Morgan Hall.
Mrs. Brazel, would you like to make the motion to?
Wow.
I
approve.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
I'm not drinking the water in this town.
Okay, and the last
At least not in
one,
the general.
the last one is from Pam Gerald. To whom it may concern, due to health issues, I am requesting to exhaust my sick and my personal days before asking for a long-term leave. Sincerely, Pam Gerald.
And I'll entertain a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Was that it?
That's it.
I do have one more communication. I was contacted by a council person last week and they asked me to advise the board and employees, and especially the ones from the high school, that they are going to be voting tonight on placing a stop sign at the corner of Illinois and 16th Avenue, which is by the Berean Church. Apparently, there's been quite a few calls to this older person and the chief of police, and they did set some police out there last week, and a high school student was ticketed for going over 50 miles an hour on that street, and it's 25. So I hope to get a text saying it's been passed, but they wanted me to give you all fair warning. So that was it. All right, the next item is fishbowl items, and I do not see a fishbowl, so we will move to Freedom of Information Act request. I do not see any of those. So item number 10 is the recognition of the audience. The Board of Education welcomes the audience to make public or employee comments. The board has set aside time in the agenda specifically for this purpose. Pursuant to Board Policy 2.230, each speaker shall be limited to a 5-minute presentation. Please be aware that while this is the time for the public to express its opinions and/or concerns, the board may or may not comment regarding public presentations. If a matter of public comment warrants discussion or action of the Board of Education, such discussion or action will be added to the agenda of a future meeting. Are there any public concerns? Are there any public or employee concerns? Then we will move into old business, and the first item under old business is the approval of the District 186 fiscal year 23 budget, which we had a special hearing on before this meeting, and I will entertain a motion to approve that budget as presented. In a second,
I'll second.
Mrs. Hines.
Mr. Beavers?
Yes.
Mr. Bain?
Yes.
Mrs. Brazel?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mrs. Evaldi?
Yes.
Mr. Rungy?
Yes, motion carries. Item number 2 is the SRO officer, and Dr. Evers, you have an update for us?
Just, we are on target for an additional SRO, so our second SRO will be added for next school year. So that SRO will be serving the middle school and and the general. So we'll have two beginning next school year. So I just wanted you to know that Chief Ellemeyer has apprised me that they have someone in mind. Now they have to train this individual's replacement. So that individual who replaces, the officer will have to go through, you know, the police academy and the training, and then realistically, he said it would be, you know, in our best interest for it to happen for next school year. So I think most of the schools have done their vinyl approval or are working on final approval for the vinyl. So our one-way vinyl should be hopefully be installed by our next board meeting. So you'll be able to say, okay, this is what we're doing, you know, to fortify security. So SRO, vinyl, and we're beginning our 4E training, which is similar to the ALICE training at the high school this Friday. So each of the schools will have a full staff training beginning this month at the high school. So it's a half-day training, and they'll be beginning and moving through the schools each month subsequently. So some good proactive measures, you know, to keep our schools safe.
Any questions from the board?
Dr. Evers, how are we doing on keeping the buildings locked? I know there was a real focus and emphasis on making sure all the doors are locked from the outside.
I have not had any success getting into any school yet this year, and that's a really positive thing. I know that the middle school has a chart that is an Excel spreadsheet that I watch, and they update like when they walked around. And there was one time where they found a door that was just not latching, so they put it into help desk as an emergency because it was more of a shaving down of a door that had to be done so that it would actually close and latch behind, because it's the middle school, the doors swell and things. And so I think all the schools have done walkthroughs of trying to find those moments where it could be open, but every employee's taken it very seriously, and I have not had any success. And even some outside vendors who were trying to do a presentation went to the wrong door, and that was at Carruthers, and they talked to them through the glass of the door and told them to go to the main office. And so I think everyone is really, really mindful of just that resolve to be committed to safety every day. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Dr. Evers. We will move into new business, and the first item is the Press 109 updates that were sent to you, and they'll remain on review until October.
Pretty long, so I need to take a peek.
Yeah.
A
Item
lot
number,
in that one too.
I'm sorry?
A lot in that one too.
Yeah. Item number 3, or the second item, is the modification to the MMS Building Management Plan. I believe this was sent to the entire board. Are there any questions, although I don't see Mr. Hernan here?
I don't know if he's in the other room. The major modifications are that the principal will have ultimate determination on, like, final, if a student comes to the office, on appropriateness of length. The length from mid-thigh was changed to an appropriate length for the age, and the holes were placed, like, moved from the above the knee to in the pocket region. If they're up that high in like a pocket area, then they need to have a pair of tights or leggings or something underneath it. So
But the principal has the final say.
on sending kids home, yes.
Do we have that in the other buildings already?
I don't know if you have those in your policy that the principal has final say.
Don't believe so.
So
I mean, is that just for consistency? Would that
Just
be
for
something
consistency, yeah.
Maybe we want to look at? for
because
next
when you're
year?
using language
Or
like
this year?
mid-thigh or the fingertip length, it's a little
Well,
bit
I'm just
more,
talking about, I'm not talking about that part of it, just
Right.
that the principal has the final say if it's brought to their attention.
yeah.
Is
And I
that
think
something we should look at for all the buildings?
Potentially, you know, especially if there was a point this year where there were a lot of children being sent home during the first few weeks, and so saying, this one looks appropriate, this is fine, this is okay, go back to class, versus sending kids home or asking parents to bring a change of school clothes up to the school. Just trying to be mindful of the fashions and the trends and what parents can bring for, purchase for their children. And that, we want to be modest and that parts are covered that need to be covered, but we also don't want to, be so overreaching to the other extreme that kids can't wear just comfortable clothes that you find it. When you're thinking about purchasing, it's the Old Navys, it's the Walmarts, it's the big box stores that are around here that parents buy their kids clothing, and sometimes online, but we have to understand that there's not very many Bermuda short options out there for children, and so looking at the previous policy of mid-thigh and saying, you know, it needs to be appropriate. When the pockets are sticking out of the bottom of the shorts, that's not appropriate. If it's not covering the buttocks, it's not appropriate. Or if a t-shirt or sweatshirt is longer than the shorts that they're wearing, that's not an appropriate length. It needs to have common sense, and so by saying an appropriate length for the age and having the principal make the final say on whether or not they go back to class or they get a change of clothes, you know, makes sense for the middle school and hopefully the application. I've seen an improvement in the last 10 to 12 days, so, you know, I think it's the right pendulum sled.
Any other questions from the board?
Dr. Roberts.
Mhm.
The high school says students who feel they have been subject to discriminatory enforcement of the dress code should contact their principal or district superintendent.
And trust me, I've had plenty of, like, just feedback from, on language, so.
I guess on the flip
I'm ready for
side
less
too,
feedback.
I mean, in my mind too, I know the principal has the final say, but if a kid get pulled out of the office in front of everybody there still needs some consistency in what they deem as dress code, because I know a couple people that have worn it to school before and then one day they get sent home after they've worn it again. I still wouldn't like being pulled out of class in front of everybody for.
Right.
There needs to be some kind of training or something that's more consistent on, hey, this is appropriate, this is not, so we're not jerking kids out of the office. Even if they're not getting sent home, they're still getting pulled out of class in front
Right.
of.
Still disruption.
But I will say that what one person deems as appropriate is not necessarily going to be the same thing that another person would deem as age appropriate or mid-thigh or into the fingertips. So, you know, saying, you know, being a little bit more inclusive in the language and saying appropriate for the age, I think will allow like room for more kids to be able to comfortably come to
You
school and
never
not
have to have
not
a
fear
happy
that they're going to
meeting
be
there.
sent to
You
the
don't wanna-
office.
you don't
Correct.
want-
Oh yeah, and you're talking, we're almost in October, so there are kids who could truly say they've worn those shorts potentially and gotten away with it for 8 weeks already, and so we have to be a little bit more, like I said, inclusive for, you know.
Would you say
Appropriate
most of
time.
our faculty would be pretty discreet with having the
They
conversation
are.
with the student?
And typically
So-
they're trying to find it before the day begins so that they're not in class and at the doorsteps or in the gymnasium. So I think, you know, I haven't seen it as much in the last, like I said, about 10 days where it's just been like, okay, ultimately send them, if you have questions on the appropriateness, send it to the office and Mr. Hernan will, you know, make the ultimate call on whether or not a phone call needs to be made home, you know, or a kid needs to be, do you have a change of clothes in your, you know, because some kids do they'll bring it and then they have the change of clothes already in their backpack because they know it was already gonna be.
Questionable.
Yeah.
I have a couple comments, and my first is just that I know that this is a hard thing, and that finding a policy that fits every body style and every growth pattern, and especially in this age where so much change is happening, it's nearly impossible. And I strongly agree with the "we believe" statements at the top of this code, but I am not sure how. I kind of share some of Mr. Beavers' concerns about how well it's consistently being communicated to the child themselves, because there have been reports from more than one that it was hurtful to the child and they felt kind of targeted, especially afterwards, like they were constantly being watched. And I just don't want that to be, especially, and it just seems to be more the female students are the ones that feel like they're the ones being watched more closely than the other students. And I hate that our education environment is causing that, even if it's not intentional, that our young ladies do not feel comfortable and feel that it's their responsibility not to be a distraction to other students.
And I will say that
And-
there have been males, like for that have been dress coded, you know,
Yep.
asked to put on a belt, asked to zip tie. It hasn't just been females. I think that the majority have been females. Mr. Hernan said he was watching in the office, so he's headed down this way. But I will say that when you talk about us faculty and staff of almost 60 employees,
No, I agree.
you know, it's,
The-
some people
Shouldn't it be
handle
called
things.
first period?
And that's what they're trying to do. It's trying not to be in that situation where a kid's made it through half the day. Mr. Hernan, can you illuminate the board on where you're at currently with dress code violations, where it was at the beginning of the year and where you're at right now?
Right now, we've kind of backed off what our code was, like, being here, it's kind of, they send it to me, I kind of look at it and use my best judgment, so that way there's one person doing
To make it more consistent,
the,
right?
to be consistent, not judging people, but yeah, one person being consistent, so it's not one person's opinion versus another.
Is it like try to get done before first period gets going and not wait till the end of the day and then get sent to the office?
Right, I mean, there's been instances where there was a kid that had a curse word on his shirt and it didn't get seen until the middle of the day, so we had him just put on a new shirt when he was like, I noticed at lunch, so I called him over and I said, hey bud, I need you to get a new shirt on, and he did. He didn't realize he didn't do it on purpose, but yeah, trying to catch it, you know, by the time they're there at noon, there's no point in sending the kid home. It's already been seen half the day, so we'll try to fix it.
How is it typically handled? Are they, you know, like,
Sent to the main office and then they call home.
okay, by the classroom
Ask for a
teachers
change.
or?
Usually it does happen in the morning, so it could be somebody, a monitor in the gym or the cafeteria sees it, sends them up.
So it's typically before the day
Yeah.
gets moving?
Yeah, that's when most infractions are. Sometimes there might be something that's first, second hour that, you know, maybe somebody missed, but the teacher sees it, then they'll send it down, but
I had guessed that, I know when your morning announcements, that it's probably been maybe a week to 10 days since it was kind of like, let's ease up a little bit and, you know, and be a little bit until the board meeting so we can make some adjustments too. And I know you met with your committee, like a group last.
Yeah, the group on Friday, yeah. Made a few changes there that were highlighted. We were planning on meeting again, maybe making a few more to others. Those seem to be when I asked for feedback from students and parents. The shorts and the ripped pants were the two biggest things, so that's what we focused on Friday. We were gonna meet again and discuss tank tops, cultural, you know, other things that are in there that some people questioned. I know some people question slides, but I think it's an issue of safety in the middle school with the stairs and the slick floors. I don't know as though that's gonna go many places, but we can definitely still talk about it.
Yeah, I think the slides will always be off that, you know, everyone wants to wear them and they'll be able to get it again at high school, but those steps, even in ballet flats, can be a little bit treacherous
Tennis
sometimes.
shoes.
Yeah, tennis shoes, just because they're slippery and they are not really level,
Yeah.
so.
Some of my other questions were just the format of this document. You know, you got a bold heading here that says students must wear, and then, you know, you got bullet points. And so it reads that students must wear religious headwear, they must wear fitted pants, including leggings, I mean, the format of the document does not flow correctly. I think you need another heading in here that says students may wear, which I think your second bullet point should be a heading, not a bullet point. And it refers to a section that doesn't exist. I'm assuming religious headwear is not a ball hat with religious markings
And
on it.
that document that I shared with you guys, that's just my own typing.
Oh, this isn't the policy?
That's what it, I
Oh.
mean, I took it, I copied and pasted it, but if it's referring to something above, it could be in the full,
Okay.
the
The
full
full text.
handbook. I just took out the dress code
The one page.
part, the
Okay.
2 pages that
Okay.
entail.
Okay, and then I just had a couple other things on punctuation down below. You know, it's like, it just needs to be clear because I felt like you were adding words in and not looking at the policy as a whole for simplicity's sake. Just insert these in the pocket area phrase here, here, and here, and it'll be fine. I don't know.
Well, I like
The
that.
reference to not showing a brassiere, but we don't have any reference to not showing boys' underwear above their waistline, you know, it's like,
Right.
I don't know, I still think it needs some work. I think the intention is good, I think it's progress what you're doing, but I don't know, if we can't have consistent across the district, that's never gonna happen. It's not the same for grade schools as it is the high school and middle school, so I don't know. But there's some some consistency. If it's the principal has final approval at all the buildings, if that's the consistency we need, that's fine, but, I don't know, I think it still needs more work.
Okay, and that's kind of the difficult point, you know, if you want to have it reflect some of the things that, like, the parents and the students brought to him, we can either put it on review and make changes, or we can make the changes based on the feedback that he's received from the students and the parents in his building. And that's what I think you said, you took the most commented items from what the students gave you during that time, because you met with each grade level?
Yeah, each grade level kind of went, oh, well, that was to kind of slow things down. They were talking about breaking the dress, like there was a Monday where everybody was gonna break the dress code. So I sat every grade level down and said, hey, we gotta go through the proper channels. If you have any suggestions or things you'd like to see changed, send me an email. So I got, I don't know, probably 15, 20 between students and parents emails, and I compiled it into a document and shared it with the team, and then they looked at it, and yeah, pants, shorts, and ripped jeans were the two most common things that we worked on Friday, but we planned on meeting again to work on other aspects that have been mentioned.
So we might readdress this again this year?
I mean, I guess that depends what we look at as a committee. We may not change it till next year.
Right. I mean, if the remaining ones are tank tops and slides,
Right.
those probably can.
And I mean, the
Time
main
for
thing
another
is
day.
if it's going through him, you've got the consistency that we're kind of lacking, because one person,
One or two or three.
so you're going through one person now, so that's your consistency.
To ultimately determine if they go back to class
Correct.
or get, you know, at a request to go home, like not go home, to get a change of clothes brought to the school.
So the question is, do you want to put it on display and receive more feedback and potentially add some of these changes? Or do you want us to approve this tonight?
Well, there might not be any additions based upon what I just heard, and that might or might not come out of the meeting he's gonna have. So I think what we need to do is approve what's been presented to us now. If it needs to be amended sometime in the future, we can do that.
I make a motion to approve it.
Was there any other questions or comments first? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Herman. Next item is the library grant expenditure report application approval, which was enclosure number 1 in your packet. Are there any questions from the board? I'll entertain a motion to approve it.
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next item is the approval of the health insurance bid, which was at your spot on the table as you came in tonight. And I will open up the floor to any questions from the board. It appears,
Well, what is,
Sure.
I
I can give a synopsis.
Yes,
So
please.
yesterday we met with 3 groups, Country Financial, Janie Green, Assured Partners, which was Carrie Boyer, and the gentleman in the back, which is Travis Cockburn, and he is from Clemens Group. They presented insurance numbers for the district, knowing that we had left the trust. And so on your 1 page, you'll look at the current trust coverage, what that policy looks like, the numbers that they provided us on quoting for Blue Cross Blue Shield, and then the Health Alliance plan that we're actually going with. Well, and Travis, you're here, why don't you tell the board a little bit about the plan that we're going with, that we determined, and some of the features of the plan?
Sure. So I'm Travis Cochran. I'm with Clemens Insurance. And we had gone through multiple plans, multiple scenarios, and in going through it from a comparative standpoint to coverage with the trust is what our goal was in looking at plans. We kind of looked at what Blue Cross had to offer, what Health Alliance had to offer, what United had to offer, multiple different plans. And what we looked at was a plan that we felt, you know, in going through all of the details, that most closely resembled that plan with the trust. There isn't a plan that it gets exactly close, but what we wanted to look at was deductibles, out-of-pocket expenses, which are the big things that employees will incur, and then look at what does office co-payment and prescription drug cover look like. So what we were able to do was find a plan with the deductible was a little less, out-of-pocket expenses that were less. There's a few coverages that a copay may be just a little higher on one thing than what it was on the other, but your office copays for doctor visits and prescription copays were all less, all at a substantial decrease in premium over where you were at with the trust or any other plan that we were able to find in the open marketplace.
Can you talk about the network coverage?
So we did, and I shared those with, we're utilizing the POS network with Health Alliance. Health Alliance is extremely strong in Southern Illinois with the state of Illinois, with TRS and another. They have a great network in Southern Illinois. We ran through the numbers. I sent the directories are out there. And don't hold me to this, but we're close. There was roughly 800 primary care doctors within 50 miles of Murphysboro that were in the network, over 600 specialists in that same network. And then what we do when we put the plans together is we include an extended network that then goes out and fills any holes that might be in there. There were roughly 31,000 providers within a 100-mile radius of Murphysboro that were in that extended network that was there. So we felt that we were able to provide similar coverages, actually a little better benefits in many cases for less money, both at the district level and also we felt for those that paid for family coverage, substantial savings for those that paid for family coverage over the other options that were on the table.
And the extended network you referred to is considered in-network?
It is considered in-network, that is correct, yes. Yes.
It's they call it a First Health wrap, so wherever Health Alliance doesn't cover, First Health picks up in places like SIH and Cape and Paducah and St. Louis hospitals are all in the First Health network.
And most of those are in the Health Alliance network also. There's one hospital in Cape that's not in the Health Alliance network, but picks up in the First Health.
So the family deductible will be $2,000. The individual deductible is $1,000 with the new plan, which was a change from our current Blue Cross Blue Shield plan, which was $1,100 or $3,300. And then office visits are now, instead of with our previous plan of $25 for primary care and $30 for specialists, will be $10 per visit for primary care and $25 for specialists. And do you want to talk a little bit about the insurance, like the prescription benefits?
So the way the prescription, you have, there's different tiers. There's your generic drugs and then tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and depending on where they fall, it's a 0.7. So a lot of the generics are at $0. If it's a generic that is not a $0 copay, that it's a little more expensive, it could be $7. So depending on where it falls on the formulary chart, there's a formulary chart that goes with it, will determine what that copay is. That's the max that they're going to pay for that. Specialty drugs that are going to be more than what those generic drugs are. But it starts at 0, it goes up. There is a 70. If it is a specialty high tier drug, there could be a co-insurance that goes there, but with this plan, the way that it's set up, once co-insurance is met, there is no other expenses that go with it. It's 100% coverage at that point in time.
So their max out of pocket is $3,000
yeah, max
for
out of
an
pocket
individual.
For an individual is $3,000.
And once they meet that, all their copays go away.
Copays go away, correct, which is a big difference than what you had with the plan that was available within the trust.
Right.
Yeah, so.
And I believe, I understand this, but there's no referral from a primary care physician to go to a specialist?
It used to be with Health Alliance that
Yeah.
you had that. Now, as long as it's in that network.
We're good to go.
Unless the specialist requires it.
Yeah, some specialists require it. I mean, you might have a cardiologist that won't see you unless the primary care doctor makes that referral, and if that's the case, then yes, but otherwise, that was 2 years ago taken away with the Health Alliance.
Yep.
Other questions from the board?
What's the total yearly trust, what we were going to pay trust versus this? Do you have to be specific,
Well, I don't.
percentage-wise?
We've already cut a check for.
Are you talking about to leave it, or?
No. If we would have stayed, what we would be paying yearly versus what we'd be paying.
It's that second option right there, that is the closest numbers we can get to.
That's what it would have been.
Yeah, that's what they were
And the dollars behind
So
that,
it's 600,000 a year.
Oh, no.
well,
You were 2
yeah.
point,
Three-
so you were at the Plan C on here, which was a spend of, now that included what the employees' payments were for families, so I wouldn't know
Okay.
an exact number, but 260,000 per month. So that would have been 2.8, 2.9. I'm just
Yeah.
doing quick math in my head here.
the savings that we looked at on those premiums, about $387,000 a year, plus, you didn't talk about the $100,000.
Nobody asked, so.
Okay.
We did get from Health Alliance a one-time implementation credit to help offset the out-of-pocket spend that was there, that they made a one-time spend to help.
It's on the
Yeah.
PowerPoint presentation. We gave you the power,
It's on
or
the
we didn't give you it at the spot, but the PowerPoint presentation talks about, there's the one time to help defray some of the exit costs to the trust, or we can use it whatever way we need to for health insurance, but I mean, you've already cut a check for how much to the trust for accident?
I did $221,000 to exit, that was an estimated. I'm hoping that it won't be more than that, because our final exit will be based on the October 31st financial statements, which we won't see for a while. And then we did make a 13th premium payment, which was another $270,000. So we're sitting really close to, I talked about looking at another $500,000 in costs this year. So that's what close to that we've already cut checks for. But this brings us savings with that $100,000 of about $487. So we're getting close to that break-even point on that for insurance for the year. So this is a really good renewal, really great for the family plan, as Dr. Evers said, and we feel the results are really good and are going to be great for our employees.
So one more question.
Yes.
For the employees that have paid their deductible, or their individual deductible so far, it's gonna reset in November and then?
No. So we did get credit, so we applied for and received credit for deductible and out-of-pocket expenses met, and those will carry through December 31st, and then we'll reset on January 1st. So no, absolutely, I mean, we've been down this road before and know how important that is from an educational standpoint, especially for those that have money out of pocket. We have been very clear, and we might want to keep this to be we will have to wait for the Egyptian Trust to provide us those deductibles and the out-of-pockets that have been met. So we kind of talked through that.
So it's important that all employees that know that they've met or are really close to their deductible, if they have a procedure during that first month, that month of November, it may take 30 or so days for us to kind of finalize everything with the trust, those incurred but not, reflected and billed. So you have to understand that if you get a bill and you're like, whoa, I've already met my out-of-pocket, hold on to it, communicate with Travis. They're gonna make sure that all of those individuals who've met their deductibles are taken care of when that information, and Jan will be able to help you with it too. So if there's someone during that first month or month and a half, between November 1 and Christmas, if they are like, whoa, I've already met it, just be patient, get to Jan, and Jan will communicate it with Travis, and we'll get it all taken care of. So there's some really, really nice online features for enrollment so that you can add your different things. The vision and eye care, like the vision and the dental, will not, those deductibles and those type of things won't carry over, but those are not the big dollar plans. They're the 1 or 2 times, one time a year for your eye exam and your 2 times for cleaning. So
and we do have savings on the dental and vision also. I think it's in the PowerPoint to take a look at.
Any other questions?
We did all our due diligence. The administration did a nice job, selected 3 nice firms to make proposals. Those firms took us to the market. Not every carrier was interested in our risk pool, so we really only had proposals from Health Alliance, the Blues, and United. United's pricing was not competitive in the least. We looked at the Blues. The family coverage was extremely expensive compared to what was being paid now, so it boiled down to Health Alliance. And then selection of something that was as comparable as we could get to what we had. We didn't want to harm any of the employees. And so I think we came up with a really good proposal, comfortable with the broker that's bringing it forward to us. So, I mean, I think it's a win. There's savings for the employees, there's savings for the district.
It's a win-win.
Yeah, it's what it looked like to me.
and they'll shop our numbers every year.
And then Travis, your group is coming, so whenever, after tonight, the timeline is,
So we've already, the shell of the case is already built. So we took care of that today, because we already had a lot of the data with the address, so, you know, the tax ID number, everything is already built. I've already provided to Jan the census template in terms of what that looks like. We're prepared. I'll be out of town for 2 days, but my counterpart that was here will be in town on Thursday and is available to be here at any time on Thursday or Friday to finish the census. Upload will happen. Our back-end support is already there to build the final case out, which should be done Monday at the latest. Our goal would be to be here from an administrative standpoint on Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, to sit down with Jan, with Dr. Evers, maybe 3 or 4 people from different schools to do a test run to make sure that everything is correct before we go live, and then we'll be ready to launch it to the staff. You know, our goal would be middle part of next week, once we have the census and
so the
final
staff
data.
will get an email, and then they'll have to log in, update their information, select the benefits they want.
Yes. Name beneficiaries.
Name beneficiary to life insurance, and it is very, very, very important that they get in there and do that. We are on a very tight timeline, and if we do not get that done, they don't get insurance cards.
Correct, yes, and we've been very, I mean, we already had calls today with Health Alliance, we've had calls today with Equitable, they know it's coming. They're looking for the file feed, they're prepared for it on their end to ensure that it's pushed through and taken care of. The one good thing that we have right now is there's a lot of people quoting right now. There's not a lot enrolling in November. November is a slower time for the companies, so it will be a little easier for them. Now, if this was a 1-1 like there's 40 other Egyptian trust schools that are looking at 1-1 dates right now, it will be very cumbersome and difficult to get those done. I feel much more comfortable in this, that, you know, our goal would be the 10th to the 12th to be done, and have everything shut off, file feeds going to the carriers so that we can get everything taken care of.
And there's an app, you'll be able to have that, so if you're at the beach and you sprain your ankle and you have your phone with you, with your beach towel and your beach bag, you can go to the doctor and pull up your, like,
ID card.
your ID cards and all those information.
Telemedicine will be available on your phone. You can do a, you know, virtual visit.
And then you'll be here to provide education to
We're
the
gonna
employees.
be here, so at being local, you know, we do try to be around, you know, at least on a quarterly basis. Early on would probably be on a monthly basis, just making sure that transition-wise, when you start getting those EOBs and you have those questions, you know, that is the business model that our agency runs on. Here to support, take care of, and make sure that the employees are, you know, happy.
Okay, thank you very much for being here. I'll entertain a motion from the board to approve the health insurance bid.
I'll move.
Second?
Second.
Mrs. Hines?
Mr. Bang?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mrs. Evaldi?
Absolutely.
Mr. Beavers?
Yes.
Mrs. Brazel?
Yes.
Mr. Riley?
Yes, motion carries, and I want to thank all who was on that committee to participate in this. This is not an easy undertaking, so.
One last comment, I do want to thank Nikki Gahagan for her participation. She was one of the employee representatives, and she was very, very thoughtful and reflective, and gave us insight onto what the teachers union really, what they desired and their needs based on a survey that was done. So I really, really appreciate, I know the whole committee did appreciate her perspective on what was valuable for the employees, so thank you.
Thanks to all of you.
Thank you.
All right, next item is the approval of the addition to the Murphysboro Middle School reading curriculum, which is enclosure number 2 in your packet. I'll entertain questions or a motion to approve.
Just the addition of a classroom book to read called The Breadwinner.
I motion to approve.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have a need to go into closed session.
Briefly.
I make a motion to go into closed session pursuant to Section 2 of the Open Meetings Act 5, Illinois compiled statutes 120/2C to review the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee to determine its validity.
And a second?
Second.
Mrs. Hines?
Mr. Beavers?
Yes.
Mrs. Evaldi?
Yes.
Mr. Boehm?
Yes.
Mrs. Brazel?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Rungy?
Yes, motion carries.